am I here, Linda? Oh, no, I'm here. Thank you. Thank you, by the way, Robert and Charles and Linda, for inviting me back. This is awesome. I always have a blast visiting you guys. Um, Linda asked me to come back and maybe share a few more tips and tricks and secrets or hidden gems, whatever you want to call them. And I really enjoy doing that because I enjoy finding these little tricks to make my life easier on the Mac. And so, as I've said in the past, this is the story of some of those tricks. I don't intend to cover anything in serious depth here. It's just kind of, I think it was five things I've gathered together to share with you guys today. And these are five of my favorite recent tidbits. In fact, one of these is something that has been available on the Mac for years and years and years and years, decades even. And did Mike know about it? No, no. Mike was watching a YouTube video and the host of the video said, "Oh, by the way, did you know you can do this?" And I went, "Oh, wow, that's really cool. And by the way, did you know this has been in macOS for decades?" No, I did not. Thank you very much. So that's one of the tips. That's one of the tips I'm going to share today. And maybe you guys will all know it. Maybe you won't know it. Maybe some of you will. I bet Charles does. But it's something really cool, and I'm excited to share that tip with you in particular. Um, so if everyone is ready, we can get started. First tip is Command Tab. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, Linda. It's not Command Tab. Um, oh, I'm going to tell you about my setup here too. So the way I'm set up here is I realized that for a couple of these tips, I really didn't want to share my actual reminders list with you and my actual notes lists with you. So I needed to set up a Mac with basically a brand new account in it. So I've got my MacBook Pro over on the desk next to me to my right, and I'm actually screen sharing into it for all these tips that I'm going to share with you today. So that's how I'm set up here. And so when I show you this screen, what you're seeing is that MacBook Pro over there. It's not this Mac I'm talking to on right at the moment. And thanks to Apple's foresight, there is a really neat zoom feature in screen sharing. And so I'm going to use that to scale up the screen as I need to show you things a little bit more closely. And we'll zoom back out again when I don't. So that's how I'm kind of set up there. Oh, and the other neat thing is I've got uh, Zoom's comments right here next to my screen share. So if you have any questions, just pop it in there and I'll try to catch it. And if I don't catch it, then Linda and Charles and Robert can help point me to these questions when we're all done. Okay, so um, I am going to start with reminders. And this is actually a relatively new feature in macOS. I used to create a new list. Let me pop up reminders here real quick. Boop, and then we'll see if I can zoom in on that a little bit. The problem with the zoom feature in screen sharing is that it does want to automatically pan. So I'm going to try to get used to using the scroll bars down here as I zoom in on things and not get my cursor to the edge of the screen so I don't accidentally pan it over to the side. Um, so this, oh, there you go. Look, I just did it. Gosh darn it. Okay. Oh, oh, screen sharing. Play it, work with me here. Okay, there
Mike,
we go.
just point your pointer to the left side of the screen instead of the right. Then it won't be panning to the right.
It won't be panning to the right. Exactly. Exactly. All right. So this might be a typical reminders list. You know, over there on the left under my lists, I've got reminders and I've got another reminder list and I've got more reminders lists and ugh, another reminders list. I've got all these reminders lists. This is how I worked. My actual reminders app, I've got maybe 10 or 12 in there. And to me, that's completely untenable. I can't I can't deal with that, which is one of the reasons I didn't really use reminders all that much. I jumped into it with both feet thinking I'm going to use reminders, and I just didn't. Well, in recent releases of macOS, and I think this was, oh gosh, when did they release this? We're in Sequoia right now. I think Sonoma. I think this was new in Sonoma, but someone can correct me if I'm wrong. There is a neat new feature where you really only need, if you're like me, you really only need one reminders list over here on the left. And I'll just stick with the default reminders because there's this cool new feature where you can add sections to your reminders lists. And you'll see up here in the top right of the reminders app, in the middle, there's the plus on the right to add a new reminder. There's the share button. And in between the plus to add a reminder and the share button is this add a new section. Boom. So I can add a section in here and I can call it work. And I can add another section in there and I can call it home. And then I can add another section in there and I can call it podcast. And within each of these, I can add reminders. And so my entire list of reminders is right in front of me every time I open up the reminders app. I had no idea this could be done until about 4 or 5 months ago. I guess I just completely ignored that button up in the top right. But now that I can create sections within the reminders list, I no longer need all those other lists on the left. And for someone like me, where I need to see things, I'm the kind of person who'll take notes on a piece of paper, and I have all these pieces of paper all over my desk. And that works for me because if it's in front of me, if I can see it, then I remember to do it. If it's not in front of me, I don't remember to do it. And yes, I know I can set alarms and I can set, remind me when I get home, remind me when I get to the office. I know I could do all that, but I don't. So having one list broken down into sections with each section dedicated to the types of reminders I need to remind myself of, I've finally made the reminders app useful to me and I now use it every single day. So I thought I'd share that with you just in case anyone else has that same how do I explain this? That same what's the word for it? That same need to have to have everything in front of them so that they remember to do it. Uh, Breaking down a reminder list into sections might be the way to do it. So that is my reminders tip. Boy, Linda, I hope I have 45 minutes worth of tips here for you guys. Okay.
So
This one
can you
is
put
actually,
a
yes.
section within a section?
Oh, good question. Let's find out. I don't believe you can. No, no, actually you can't because if I'm in a section and I click new section, it's just going to create a new section down here. Yeah. So you can create multiple sections within a list, but you can't create a section within a section. No.
How about rearranging the sections so that the bottom goes to the third position or third to top? I think you
Yep.
might be showing us right there. But
I am showing you that.
that would be one way of creating a section within a section. You create a new section and you drag it up to wherever you want it.
Well, what you're rearranging the sections, but I can't take my work section and put it inside the home section. I can put it above it or I can put it below it, unless you mean like visually embedding one above. You're not really embedding it within another section. You're just rearranging them.
Unless you were to create one and then drag it up either above or below one of the sections, that would be the closest you would come to embedding it.
That would be the yes. You could in your mind you say, okay, well, I'm putting podcast below work. So that means it's embedded within work. Yeah. Yeah, you could think of it that way.
Or you can title it work podcast and then
Ah,
separate from home podcast.
I see what you're saying. Yes, exactly. Yeah, you could, by naming them differently or by naming them in a way that indicates it should be a sub section of a section. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You could do that. Yep, yep, yeah. Very, that's why we're Mac users because we can do this sort of thing, drag and drop one above the other. Yep, absolutely.
I'm still waiting for the day I can run Mac OS on my iPad Pro. Of course, I'd have to get a far newer iPad to get more RAM to run that in virtualization.
There is that strong rumor once again that we might see this coming. I have my doubts. I have my doubts. I don't think we're going to see that coming anytime soon. But would be kind of cool. Okay, let's go back. This one. All right. Here's the one that I just learned, and I'm embarrassed to say I did not know that this was a feature of the Finder forever. And my good friend Eric, my co-host on the podcast, said, "Oh yeah, Mike, that's been in there forever." And I said, "Well, why didn't you tell me, Eric?" And this is the ability to turn any file on your Mac into a template. Now I know Pages and Word and Numbers, they all have the ability to create templates. But what if you could take a text edit file? Ooh, I almost said notepad. Ooh, sorry. Sorry, didn't mean to inject Windows into this. What if you could take a text edit document and turn it into a template? Or what if you could take a graphic that you need to edit regularly and turn it into a template? Well, it turns out that the Finder has this ability built right into it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to, let's zoom in on this a little bit here. And we'll move around here. Oh, hey, hi podcasts. All right. So right here, this is just a regular old plain text document. Could be rich text, doesn't matter. But I created this as an example where we have various options that maybe I want to update. And it's a list. It's a list in this particular case. I have a better example in just a minute, but I wanted to show you how you could even do this with a plain text file. So test template document, option 1, option 2, option 3. This is the just a plain document. If I edit this and I save it, it's going to save it just as I edited it, right? But in the Finder, zoom back out again, in the Finder, if you get info on that file, right at the top of the get info window is this set. Well, let me go in a little bit more here. There we go. Right there, Stationery Pad. Now, why Apple doesn't call it Make Template, I don't know. They call it Stationery Pad, which is probably why I ignored it every time I saw it. But if you tick this box, Stationery Pad, boop, and close your Get Info window, from now on, that's all you have to do. From now on, that text edit document is a template. And by double clicking on that document, what macOS will do is automatically create a copy and open up that copy for editing. So now I can edit this I can save this copy, and the next time I double click on the file, it'll create another copy, and I can edit it and save it. Now, the downfall to this, I'll admit, is that what Mac OS does is just exactly the same as what it does when you duplicate a file. In other words, it creates the copy and names it. In this case, the document was named test template document, so it names it test template document copy. And then when I do it again, test template document copy 2. That's the biggest downfall to it. What I would love for it to do is actually prompt me and say, what would you like to name this file, Mike? But it doesn't do that. Maybe Siri will do that in the future. But right at the moment, it creates a duplicate and appends copy to the end. Now, here's a little bit more real world example. I have this file right here. This is, it's a pretend file, but it's a real world example because I do similar things to this where, and I'm just quick looking at the moment, by the way, but this is an Affinity Designer file, and it's a thumbnail for a podcast. And I need to update this thumbnail frequently. I need to change the episode number, and I need to change the title of the episode. So if I turn this into a stationery pad, which right now it is, if I tick that box to turn on Stationery Pad, when I open this in Affinity Designer, boom, it'll create the copy. I can edit this. We'll just pretend I spelled that correctly because I didn't. Episode title. And I can edit this, and I can save it. And there's my copy that I created right there. And the original is untouched because I ticked that box for Stationery Pad. So every time I need to create this thumbnail for the podcast, I just double click this file. It creates a copy. I edit that copy, save it, and I'm done.
Hey, Mike,
Yeah,
this is the Infinity, the one you just showed us. I'm not familiar. That is a non-Apple app that you're making.
that is a
copy of.
non-Apple app. Yes, Affinity Designer, Affinity Photo, and Affinity Publisher are a trio of apps put out by Affinity, which is serif. And actually now it's owned by Canva. Canva bought them, by the way, which I was a little bummed by. But they haven't touched these apps so far. But they're about $50 each, 50, 60 bucks each, something like that. They regularly have sales. But these apps are amazing analogs for the Adobe suite. If you need anything like Photoshop, anything like Illustrator, anything like InDesign, these are amazing analogs. It's a one-time purchase. I make nothing. I make nothing if you go buy this. But I talk these up to everybody because if you have any need to do any kind of photo editing, vector editing, or desktop publishing, any one of these apps or all three of these apps purchased as a suite, and by the way, there are iPad versions of them as well, are drop-down, awesome, professional level apps that stand toe-to-toe with anything from Adobe, in my opinion.
Okay, so
I used Adobe for years and years and years. I mean, I started with Aldus PageMaker back in the early 90s. So I was a long time user, but when they moved to the subscription model, I as a single person, sole proprietor business could not justify the cost of it. And when these came out, I jumped on them, and I'm very happy I did.
Okay, so what I'm wondering is a slightly different question.
Okay.
I use an app for a particular purpose, and I only have one purpose for using that app. And uh, the vendor wants like $150 for the app, and I'm thinking the stationery thing might work for me. So it would work with an older. So as far as you know, the stationery app thing of making a template, um, that works with other apps. We don't know of any limitations on that, right? Or do
I
we?
have
I
not
just
hit
don't know.
any limitations with it in playing with it. No, it's a feature of macOS.
Right,
So basically, what you're telling when you turn on the stationery pad checkbox,
right,
what you're telling the Mac is before you tell the app to open this file. So the app in this case, Affinity Designer or text
right,
edit, the app's not even in play yet
right.
because the Mac looks at the file, says, "Oh, this is a stationery pad file," makes the copy,
Okay.
then it opens up the app. So yes, what you could do instead is if you don't use stationery pad, um, you could simply right click the file and you could say duplicate,
Right, right, right,
right?
right.
Same
Yeah,
thing, except it's an extra step. When
right,
you have stationery pad turned on, that process of creating the duplicate happens automatically versus happening
right.
manually.
So,
So
okay.
pretty
All right.
cool. Yeah. No, I'm
I will
sorry. Go
need
ahead.
to, yeah, I'll just need to play with what I have because I have an older version of the app that I have in mind. And it's at some point it's going to go, as I update my Mac, that app's no longer going to be functional.
Yeah.
So I don't
What's
know
do you mind
how
my
that
asking what's the app?
it's on the outliner,
Oh, I'm the outliner. I
you
use
know.
it all the time and I use an old version of it, by the way.
Right. My
Um,
thing is that I have one use for it and I haven't found a
Me too.
substitute. Don't want to spend what like $150 or whatever to update.
Yeah.
It just seems wasteful.
Yeah.
So,
I'm on a pretty old version myself. What am I on? I don't even know. This is the Mac I'm screen shared into is an older Mac. It's been
right.
out of service until this week when I started setting it up for tonight.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't even know if I'm up to date here. Omni Outliner 4 is what I'm
Yeah.
running on there.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
I have one purpose for it too.
Yeah.
I, literally one purpose, and that is my show notes for the podcast.
Yeah.
That's it. And if I'm being honest, I don't need Omni Outliner for it. I could use anything to create my show notes. I don't have to use it, but
Right.
it's one of those things where I have this format. and
Yeah.
and every episode I just open up the Omni Outliner file and update the title and update
Yeah.
my notes and save it. And so that's all I use it for. But I hesitate to pay, like you said, because
Yeah.
I actually have Omni Outliner Pro.
Yeah, me too.
And if I'm being truthful, I first got Omni Outliner Pro when I was an employee of another company. And
Right.
I told them I needed it.
Right.
So um, the initial purchase was on that
On
employer
somebody else's dime. Right.
on somebody
Gotcha.
else's dime, and so the upgrades since then have been on my dime. And OmniGraffle was the same way. I had an OmniGraffle Pro. Uh, well, it wasn't a subscription. I had a license to
Right.
OmniGraffle, which is a great Mac analog for Microsoft's Visio.
Which, yeah.
And yeah, same thing. The
Yeah.
employer
Huh.
purchased it for me, and
So can you open a stationery pad document from within an app, or do you double click it in the Finder and that launches the app?
good question. Good question. It depends on how you work, right? You are a oh, that is a good question. Let's try it. I know what you're getting at. I know what you're getting at. Let's see what happens. If I go to text edit and let's go to demo files here and let's go to my test template document. What will it do? Anyone have any bets? What will happen when I open this file? I have not tested this. This is a really good question. Will the Mac create a copy first and then open it? Or will it open the original? I think it's going to open the original. Anyone else have any guesses? I think it's going to open the original.
I'm
Let's see
more
what
curious
happens.
about what a third-party app like Affinity would do, opening
We'll,
a file from within their program.
we'll test both. How about that? All right, let's see what TextEdit does. Open it, and it opens the original. Boop, 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 boop. And if I save it, now my...
Oh,
Okay, so this actually could be useful. So let's say I want to go back and modify my original template. Now I know I can open that template directly from within the app, modify it, save it, and from that point forward, my template will have the new format. Now, what will happen with Affinity Designer? Let's give that a test. I bet the same thing. I really think it's going to be the same thing. But let's open that. And let's go to, I have it on the desktop, demo files. And let's go, where is it? There it is. All right. And if I make this 9999, save it. Yep, same thing. So that's actually a good point. And I'm going to add this to my notes because if you ever need to edit the original template file, you don't want to be stuck with the inability to do so. So Apple smartly says, oh, hey, well, just open it within the app versus double clicking it in the Finder, and you can edit it, save it, and now your template is going to be updated to the new version. Yeah, excellent question.
if the file were locked, would Affinity prompt you to create a duplicate, an editable duplicate?
Yep, I bet it does. Oh, Apple, stop with that. Stop bothering me. Just let me use my Mac. Okay. Oh, you know what?
Can't
It's
even open
locked.
it.
I can't open it. I can't even open it because it's locked. Okay, it's grayed out. It is grayed out. If I double click it, then it makes the copy. So that's one way to secure your template file. Another good point. That's a way to secure your template file so that you avoid the accidental editing that we were just talking about a moment ago. Lock that file. Make sure the template can't be changed. But when you double click it, it will still go through the process of creating the copy and then opening that copy. I love this. This is great. These are all going in my notes, folks. This is fantastic. All right. Because I love this feature. I cannot believe I had no idea what that feature did. I think I was peripherally aware that it was there. I must have seen Stationery Pad in the Get Info window. I go into Get Info all the time. Must have seen it.
I don't think I've
Didn't
ever
know what it did.
paid attention to it. Maybe didn't even notice it.
Never paid attention to it. Isn't that strange? I love it. I love it. Yep. So lock the file. Then you can't inadvertently edit it. But if you don't lock the file and Stationery Pad is ticked, you can edit it, update your template, and then move on.
Dumb
And then,
question.
of course, by extension, if you ever did need to edit your template, you could get info, uncheck locked, edit the file, then lock it again. Yes. Yes.
No, you just answered it. Go ahead.
Oh, there you go. See? Predictive answering. New in macOS 18. Okay. Next. Oh, I have one. My next one is all struck out. And that's because I realized I couldn't demo it to you guys,
Oh,
which is kind of a bummer because it's a weird tip, and weird tips are sometimes fun. And the weird tip was how to set up your Mac so that you can straddle two displays with one window. Because by default, if you try to take a window and sit it so that half is on one screen and half is on another screen, it will snap to one screen or the other. But there's actually a setting. I'll tell you guys what the setting is. I can't demo it to you, but I'll tell you the setting, okay? Because there are certain circumstances where you might want a window to straddle two screens. I might be hard pressed at the moment to say what that situation might be, but maybe a web browser, maybe a game, you want it to straddle two screens. I don't know. But there are situations where you may want a window to sit half on one screen, half on another. And it would work really, really well if you have two identical screens. If they're if they're two different size screens, it's going to look stupid. But if you have two identical screens, two of those beautiful Apple displays, and you take a window and straddle those two screens, could be useful. All right, so I'll read through my struck through text here to tell you how to do this. So it's in system settings. Oh, I could probably demo or show you where it is so that at least you can see it. All right, so let's go into system settings here. And it's going to be under displays. Okay. And then, all right. Now I can't do it because I don't have a second display connected to the MacBook. All right. So it's in the displays panel, and you need to make sure that your second display is set to extended for one. Okay. They can't be mirrored. They have to, one screen has to extend the other screen. So that's kind of a prerequisite for this to work. So that's step one. Then under desktop and dock, over here on the left, you want to scroll down to mission control right here. And then down in the mission control section, you see there's this setting here that says displays have separate spaces. You want to turn that off. Now you see it says it requires a logout. Again, complicating the ability to demo this to you, but it requires a logout. That's because you're changing the way spaces work on your Mac. But by turning that off, and it makes sense when you think about it, if displays have separate spaces and you're dragging a window from one to the other, it's going to snap to that window or the other window. But if displays don't have separate spaces, then you can drag a window so that it sits and straddles the two displays. So that's it. That's how you do that. I couldn't demo it to you, so I struck it all out. But when I heard the sigh of sadness, I said, well, let me share it with you anyway. And that's how you would do it.
the trade-off on that is that if you do have separate spaces, then you can have menu bars and docks on either screen.
Yes. Yep. And that is a big trade-off, actually. Yeah.
So I'm using right now Zoom, and I have you on one monitor. I have studio monitors, The other one I have the participants in the chat. I dragged it out onto that second monitor on the right. So that's a place where you
That's,
might use it, something like that. Or
yeah.
I'll do it sometimes with Photoshop. I do that.
Oh, well,
So
okay.
that gives me
Yes.
my tools and stuff can go on the other monitor.
Yes. In the case of an application like Photoshop, the Affinity apps, if you turn on the feature in the Affinity apps, um, or Zoom, where or what I'm using right in front of me right now, Ecamm Live, where the window you've got floating windows, you can do exactly what you're saying, where you can take that one floating window, move it to one screen, keep the other floating window on the other screen, you move your Photoshop tools onto one screen. Yes, yeah, you can do that. If there is a setting in Photoshop and there's a setting in Affinity where you have a unified window, and in that case you couldn't do it unless you disabled this feature, displays have separate spaces, then you could let the Photoshop window go across two displays. But by default, the Photoshop tool palettes float. So you can, yeah, you can move them one screen or the
Now,
other.
now Zoom is a special case because if you have two monitors in the Zoom settings, the
Oh,
very first item
yes,
in the first tab, which is general, is use dual
yes,
monitors. And when you check that,
yes,
by default, when you when you enter a Zoom meeting, you have gallery view on one screen and speaker view on the other screen. And then what I'll do is I'll then open participants and meeting chat as separate panes. So I've got those two panes plus speaker view on one display and gallery view on the other display.
yes, yes, you're right. I am not a power Zoom user. We've been in this world of Zoom meetings for 5 years now, and I'm only just coming to learn some of the features of hosting meetings and things like that. Um, and you're right. You're right. This is why I surround myself by smart people like everyone in these virtual Zoom rooms right now, because you tell me what I got wrong. And the Zoom setting to use separate displays is a really nice feature of Zoom, where exactly as you said, you can keep that full meeting in front of you and be able to pay attention to all the different aspects of it, instead of what happened to me when I joined the meeting. The little mute button in the Zoom meeting window was actually hidden behind another window, and that's why I didn't see it at first, because it was stuck behind one of these other floating windows on my Mac. Yeah, that's okay. Struck out tip. Um, oh, this is kind of fun. I've got it. How much time do we have? We good? Oh, we got a couple minutes. Okay. So this is a fun one. I This is also relatively new in Mac OS, and this has to do with notes and uh, and PDFs. Notes and PDFs. If you've ever embedded a PDF into a note in Apple Notes before, uh, it was pretty useless. You drag the PDF in, and you would get this little tiny thumbnail, and that was it. You couldn't really see anything about the PDF. You couldn't see how many pages it had. You couldn't scroll through it. You could open it, and it would open in preview, but you really couldn't do anything with it. But Apple has greatly, greatly enhanced. Let's see. So this was since Sonoma, in versions of macOS before Sonoma. When you added a PDF, you just got that tiny icon in the note, and that was it. But now with Sonoma or later, you can actually create a little library of PDFs within a single note. And I just think this is super cool and super useful. And it was really smart of Apple to add this kind of functionality into it. So here I have a test note on screen. And I'm going to leave this full screen for a moment, and we can zoom into it if we need to. But I have this note on screen, test PDF library. I'm going to call it a PDF library because I've got 3 PDFs I want to bring into this. And I'm just going to highlight those in the Finder here. And let's drag those in. You can drag them in one at a time, or you can drag them all in at once. I'm going to drag them all in at once in this case. So I'm just going to grab those 3 PDFs. I'm going to drag them into this note. And when I do, look what happens. This is so cool. I can now scroll through that entire PDF right within the note. And I can go down to the next one and scroll through it right within the note. I just think that is amazing. And one of the other cool things about this is while I'm in here, I can select text. I can copy that text. I can pop it into another file if I want to. What a cool feature. Now, those PDFs look a little big, admittedly, but right up here at the top of each one is this little disclosure triangle right here. And by the way, you can also just right click the embedded PDF as well. But there's a little disclosure triangle that might help you remember that this is there. And when you click that, there is a view as, and you can say small, which gives you kind of that same way of looking at it as you could pre-Sonoma. But you can also do medium, which I think is probably the most useful of the 3, or you can do large. There's also other features in here as well where you can rename the attachment. You can quick look it, you can open it, which will open it in by default preview. But quick look is great because, and by the way, yeah, quick look it. That'll just open up in a quick look window like normal if you want to see it just a little bit larger. But the other cool thing that you'll see up here is over on the right here, show thumbnails. Now you think you're already looking at thumbnails, right? Oh no, it gets better than that. Show thumbnails, and you get this little tiny preview of the thumbnails up above the larger ones below. Why would you want that? In a super long document, you can quickly scroll to the page that you want, select it, and jump right to that page within the larger view of it down below. I just think this is an amazing new a bit of functionality that Apple has added to Notes, and it's a great way to build a little library of like documents within Notes, and then let that note sync to iCloud and be available on all your other devices. So I just love that. I love that you can select text within it. And then there's also, you may have noticed, when I click that, there's also a markup capability in here as well. So you can do that too. Boom. So now I can mark up that text, the PDF, click done, and those markups will make their way back to the original note. Interestingly, I actually have in my notes that one of the downfalls of it is that if I open this in preview, so if I open the attachment and then I go to mark this up, and I actually do mark it up, what happens is you get this little message at the top here that says, oh, by the way, this is going to make a copy. It's going to make a duplicate of this. And then when you save it, it doesn't save it back to the note. I thought, oh, well, that's kind of a bummer. You know, you can't edit this and have it saved back to the note. But that was because Mike completely missed the context menu where it said markup. And excuse me, where it said markup, and you could mark it up straight within the note. And that by itself is pretty awesome. So I love this feature. It brand new in Notes since Sonoma, and I just think it's super cool. So I wanted to point that out to you guys as well.
So the
Oh,
markup you do within the note, will that be saved to the original document, the original
if
PDF, or just here?
it will save it. Oh, boy, you guys have awesome questions. Let's see. I believe what's going to happen is if I mark this up, the markup is going to be saved to the embedded PDF and not to the original. Because effectively what we're doing is we're embedding the PDF within the note, leaving the original untouched. So, for example, before we test that, we're going to test it in just a second because that is a fantastic question. But if I come in here and I delete the original, it's not going to affect the embedded version. This is literally a copy of the PDF. So let's bring that deleted version back, and we're going to test this. We're going to go to markup, and the Mac's going to say, dude, would you just, you told me to mark this up like 5 times. Would you just make up your mind? So, all right, let's do something really obvious and glaring here. We'll just put this across the top like that, and we'll make it this lovely red color, and we'll make it super, super big and blocky like that, and we'll say done. And we'll see that the embedded PDF is updated, but the original PDF is left untouched. A little like marking up a PDF or an image or something in an Apple Mail message, where you're not really touching the original, you're touching the embedded version within the message. That's what's happening here as well. But still pretty cool. Pretty cool that you can do that. All right. That, I think I've extended past my time, but I do have 2 quick tips to share if we have time to do it. If we don't, I can save them for the future.
Let's do it now.
Do it now.
Second
Okay.
that.
Second that. All right. Um, I mentioned very early on at the beginning of this, I'm 58. I don't think that has any bearing upon what I'm about to show you, but any of you have one of these?
Yep.
Yep, right? DSLR. I take my DSLR with me on trips all the time. Now, the problem is when I travel to a different time zone, I forget to update the date and time on the camera before I snap all my pics. And I'll come back home with 1,200 pics on my camera because we can do that because we're not shooting film anymore. And I realize that I'm off by an hour or worse, 2 hours, depending on where we were traveling. So these are actually 2 photos tips, and one of the suggestions for the tips came from my wife. That's going to be the second one. This first one is coming from me because I wanted to show you just real quick how you can fix that. So here's some random photos in here, and let's assume that these 3 pangolin, oh, you're not seeing it. There we go. Here we go. Here's photos. Let's assume that these 3 random 3D printed pangolins down here in the bottom were taken in California, not in Illinois. And what I can do, because I realized that I didn't update the date and time on my camera before I took these pictures, is come up here to the image menu in photos, and I'm going to have to leave this full screen so you can see everything, but up here in the menu bar for photos is image, and the very first option is adjust date and time. And now I can zoom in on that because you can adjust the date and time of those 3 photos. So you can literally adjust the date on them if you want to. But really what I want to do is say, you know, I didn't take these at 4:41 p.m. I took them at 2:41 p.m. And once I have made that change, I can click adjust. And now the date and time on those photos will be updated.
Mike, are you a secret Linux user with your pangolin?
No, well, I do really, really, really like Linux. I'm a big fan of it. And if anybody is looking to run a PC, and by PC I mean the other hardware, I don't mean a Windows running computer, but a PC, I think Linux is a fantastic choice to run on it. But this was a 3D print. This is what they call a flexible 3D print. It's a print in place object. And when you print it in place, it will create this flexible toy object that can bend. And this pangolin can actually roll into a ball like a real pangolin can. And I just thought it was a really good way to test this 3D printer. And you can see in the background there's another flexi print, which is a little T-Rex, and then of course I've got a couple benchies up there as well. But the pangolin I thought was a complex enough print to really make sure that the precision of this printer was spot on. And sure enough, there were no problems with that one. So
I think that's pretty cool. I would think it'd be awesome to have a bigger 3D printer that could do like a lion, like a 3D lion, like you did with the pangolin, with all the moving joints and stuff.
yeah, yeah, this is all print in place, and yeah,
So
it turned out
speaking of Linux,
great.
I got a 2009 MacBook Air, and it's running the latest distro of Ubuntu.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. If you have an older Mac and you want to breathe new life into it, absolutely put Linux on it. Did you say Ubuntu you've got on it?
Yeah, the latest distro Ubuntu.
Ubuntu is the perfect distro, especially the latest version of it. Perfect distro for an old Mac because
it looks just like an open source version of Mac OS.
Looks like an open source version of macOS. I mean, you could put Linux Mint on it. You could put something else if you really want your Mac to kind of feel like a Windows computer. But if you want it to feel like a Mac and you want it to be up to date and you want it to actually feel fast again, yeah, put Ubuntu on it. It runs fantastic. I think I put the oldest Mac I've put Ubuntu on and had it run really well was like a 2008 iMac. I've got a few old iMacs at the office, and yeah, they run amazing.
I would say Mint or Zorin for like the Core 2 Duo models.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's lighter.
A little bit lighter, yeah. Yeah, Mint is a good choice. I mean, there's so many lightweight Linux distros out there, but I was floored by how well the latest distro of Ubuntu ran, how quickly it ran on that old 2008, I think it was 2008 iMac that I put.
It really depends on your hardware, how much RAM you got, SSD. Even a Mac Pro would be awesome on Linux.
It was hard drive based, what I put it on.
And honestly, if I were you, I'd dump hard drives in a heartbeat.
Well, of course, but then what kind of experiment would it be?
Well, at least you don't have the bottleneck of a hard drive.
Yes.
So I want to take us off
steering back on topic,
back onto the tip that you just showed.
Yeah.
You had a thing.
I'll do you one better with the adjust date and time dialog panel you had up there a moment ago.
Yeah.
You can not only change the time manually on there, but if you click on the location on the map, it will adjust to the nearest known time spot for that.
It'll do it for you.
It'll do it for you.
Yeah. Yeah. It
Which
will.
means that, for instance, as I did not more than 3 days ago, take photos that I took in Amsterdam and look at them in my Mac and say, no, all the times are wrong. I just clicked on the map around Amsterdam and all of the items adjusted by 9 hours.
And of course, if you don't want to click around randomly, you could do the drop down. Oh, you could do the drop down as well, and
Oh, yeah. Very good.
select it too. Yeah.
Yeah, it would show you the town.
Yep.
Very cool.
Amsterdam. Boom. There you go.
Yeah. So, which is a cool place to visit, by the way. But beware of
Yeah.
jet lag. So, okay, now back on topic.
Yeah.
You had one
Back
more tip though, right?
I do have
Because
one
we are
more very
running.
quick tip. Yeah,
Okay.
one more very quick tip. I do think the Linux conversation was a very good one for folks with older Mac hardware to keep the. I hate to see old hardware just recycled,
Right.
and if you can keep it running, turn it into a guest computer in your house or whatever, or just a secondary computer. I think it's an absolute great way to go. Um, it was a fun conversation. I liked it.
Okay, I'm just just watching the time now because
I know. Gosh, I didn't think I was going to have enough for 45 minutes, and now we're at an hour.
this is
I do
normal.
this to you every time, don't I, Linda?
Yeah, but you're
Um,
not the only one, just so you know.
well, that's comforting anyway. Um, so I am going to show this one because this actually is from my wife. There we go. Okay. I'm gonna do this. I wanna pop that up. Okay. So Janet asked me, that's my wife. She asked me, is there a way that she can quickly tag or keyword a bunch of photos in photos without having to do them one at a time? Uh, and you know, yes, you can categorize them by albums. You can let the feature of the Mac automatically detect people and pets and trips and things like that. But there are instances where you might want to actually, you know, manually add keywords to your
Mhm.
photos so that you can find them by those keywords. And if you don't know what we're talking about, it's under the information panel in Photos, which is kind of where we're looking for the date and time here. It'll often show you the location where it was taken if you have that capability, GPS capability in your camera. In this case, they were taken with my iPhone. Um, but there's this section over here, add a keyword. So I can come here and I can click add a keyword and I can say, oh, that was an unboxing. Okay. So now I've got this keyword unboxing. Then I could go to the next picture and say, oh, that was unboxing too. Okay, unboxing. Well, Janet's question was how does she add these keywords to a whole bunch of photos at once? And it's super simple. And so this is a nice quick one to end on so that we can get you guys moving on past me. Um, just select the photos that you want to add, bulk add the keywords to. We'll just select a whole bunch of unboxing photos here, and and type in your keyword that you want
Yeah.
to go on them. In this case, it is unboxing, so I just hit enter on that, and it'll add it to all of them.
Yep, that makes sense.
So that was that. And you know, the neat thing about it is that when you do add keywords up here, this, in my case, much overlooked filter item up here,
Mhm.
if I click on this, I can go into Keyword Manager and I can pick some of my favorite keywords, in this case, my demo unboxing. And from now on, when I click up here, I have show only the keywords unboxing. So I always overlook the filter item up there in the top, but knowing that I can add favorite keywords to it, whatever those keywords might be, and be able to quickly display only those pictures is another little add-on to that tip. So there you go. That was the last
Very
one.
useful. Yeah.
That's the last one.
Okay. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. I had fun. I had fun.